Okay, so this is the final one of the In the Nutshell series. I'm going to address the Chinese series. I'm calling it the In a Nutshell series because that's what I've said in every single video. So this is just a brief synopsis on what each of the expansions do and how they work in Four Horsemen. I'm Jeremy, and thank you for watching my video. So the Chinese expansion adds some pretty cool elements. Of course, they add four new heroes that you can play. You have Sun Wukong, who is the Monkey King. You have Long Wang, which is the King of the Dragons. You have Guan Yin, who is a Buddhist mistress. And then you have finally Chang Yi, who's the moon. She's the goddess of the moon. So she's up there and she's decided to come down and help out. So the Chinese heroes each have different powers depending on whether yin or yang isn't affected. That's dependent on the moon. So yin means that they have certain powers, generally follower recruiting powers, and yang would mean they have demon powers. So this doesn't give them quite double the powers, but it does make their powers quite a bit. So if you see, on Sun Wukong, it says on his cloud jumping one, for yin, he's going to gain a rune stone, and for yang, he's going to gain a rune, and for yang, he's going to gain a prestige, okay? Long Wang has a bunch, and all of their relics have different yin and yang effects. So it mixes it up quite a bit. The other cool thing about the Chinese heroes is that they have different special abilities, each of them on their card. So, not like Sun Wukong. Actually, he can acquire a relic for free every single turn, but in exchange, he has to take a curse card and put it in his deck. If he wants to acquire two, he actually acquires three instead, and one of them is a curse. The curse cards still do things, but they're not as good as the other cards. So he's kind of polluting his deck. Makes his deck very big, but kind of gross because he's got curses all over. Guan Yin doesn't have to discard her last card. She can actually keep that in her hand if she wants to. So if you get a handful of really good cards, you got a card that's perfect for the next round, or you're saving it because you need it for some boss, she can actually keep that in her hand. Long Wang actually can take corruption instead of divinity damage in all cases, so he can always just take corruption instead. And then finally, Chang Yi actually draws 6 cards a turn. So she doesn't draw the normal 5. She draws 6. And they have actually really different powers. For example, Sun Wukong, if you know the mythology, he was actually bound by Guan Yin after he rebelled against the Jade Emperor, and she taught him the way of Buddhism. So he has to get permission from the different heroes to actually use any of his powers. So they all have these kind of little handicaps that make up for the extra powerful effects that they get just by default. The bad guy, and their relics. Oh, a couple other things that their relics do. First, they add a charge ability. So, a charge means that you can just pay one resource or one rune whenever you want to essentially power a mystical artifact. And for that, for example, it might say charge to -1 demon. That would mean you just pay 2 rune stones and you can kill a demon whenever you want to, right? You just can use rune stones as much as you want. The other thing they add is single use cards. So when you sacrifice a card with single use on it, you don't actually lose that card right away. Instead, it goes into a temporary storage area where you can use it whenever you want later on. And that's pretty cool because, maybe you have a turn where you're not doing much. So you're like, I'm going to sacrifice this minus an Archdemon card, and then I can use it later on. It doesn't go away. Finally, they have a lot of stuff based on the traits of the cards, and actually the Egyptians do this too. But every card has 6 traits on it. So, for example, if you look at the Sleep Thorns card, it has Strength, Earth, and Restriction. I don't know if you can see that very good, but Strength, Earth, and Restriction. And there's cards that they have that say for every Earth card that you put down this turn, you get X followers, right? So you've recruited a bunch of followers based on the Earth. And so it gives you a lot of strategy around how you buy your cards and what you do. Of course, if you buy too many of the same and there's a card that prevents you from using them, then you're kind of in trouble. But you can actually build up and chain a lot of combos together, which is pretty fun. Here's one. You can see on the Yao grass here. It's got a single use where you can prevent a vortex from coming out. You can do a charge 1 to get 1 mysticism. That's pretty good. So exchange for 1 runestone, you get a mysticism. And then it also has the yin and yang on the use. So for the yin, you get +1 mysticism per zone without demons. And on the yang, you get +1 mysticism per zone with demons. So you kind of want to make sure that you put the moon phase. And the moon phase applies to everybody. There's also a moon deck that you reveal a moon card every single time, and something happens depending on the moon. So it's just a little bump that makes some interesting play. That is optional to use, of course. The bad guys, of course, get something. Every box has something for the good guys and bad guys. The good guys get quite a bit in the Egyptians. The bad guys get these vortexes. These go on the board, and anytime a hero moves to one of these, they lose a follower. You can only close them by spending some followers to figure out how to fix the terror in space and time, which is what these represent. But if you move to them, a follower gets too close and he gets sucked in and dies. So these are, you always hope these spawn right on your space so you can clear them. They spawn by the relics, of course, the events. So you can see here's the Year of the Pig. This is going to spawn a whole bunch of vortexes. This is a terrible card to get sometimes when you can't, especially if you're a demon-centric group of heroes. But you can quickly find yourself unable to move anywhere without sacrificing a large number of followers if you're not careful. There are heroes that can, and you can kill one of these anytime just by sacrificing 2 general followers. So they're quite easy to take off as long as you've got the followers to do so. But they do block damage. So, you combine those with the Archdemons and the other stuff, and it gets quite nasty. Now, as far as reverse compatibility, it's pretty easy to implement all this with the base game. First, you just say yin is always in effect. So any card that says yin or yang, or any power that says yin or yang, you just say yin. And that makes it easy. And then whenever you see one of these gates or these vortexes, you just subtract 2 followers instead. So pretend that's a -2 of your followers of the same type, of one type, and that's what you do. That means you can then play Sun Wukong with any of the, in the base game with brand new people without worrying about it. And of course, you can play with the Christian, Greek, Norse, Egyptian heroes with the Chinese heroes the same way you can always play. You just, the moon phase affects everybody, not just them. There are cards that are for other pantheons in there that have the moon stuff on it. There's events that have the moon stuff on it, so you could actually play with the moon and never use a Chinese hero if you didn't want to. So it's, like I said, it's all reverse and back or forwards compatible. So if you're playing with the expansions, you just get to add stuff to the game until it's truly the apocalypse, till the board looks like it's a rainbow of colors that you have to defeat. So that is the Chinese in a nutshell. That was a little longer one, but Chinese do add quite a bit. Actually, all of them do. Each one of the expansions adds a lot to the game. So thanks for watching.